Hello, I'm Kristen Estes. This is Lakeshore. Protest has reignited around the nation after a Staten Island grand jury refused to indict a white New York City police officer who, in July of this year, subdued Eric Garner, an unarmed black suspect, with a chokehold, killing him. The decision was made despite a ban prohibiting use of the chokehold in the NYPD since 1993. Dr. Vanessa Allen, president and CEO of the Urban League of Northwest Indiana, says productive response is what is needed.
So yes, I think there needs to be something, but to say protest, that may be what people are doing in that area because it happened in that area. But I think at this point, we need to have a conversation about the violence. We need to have a summit of awareness more so than, quote, protest.
Gary Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson said the grand jury decision is just one more reminder of why many Americans feel unheard. Mayor Freeman Wilson says she was humbled to attend a meeting at the White House earlier this week to discuss the challenges presented by racial tension and police-community relations. The White House called the meeting in response to civil unrest after a Ferguson, Missouri grand jury voted not to indict Officer Darren Wilson in the shooting death of unarmed teenager Michael Brown. President Obama and representatives of law enforcement, civil rights, faith, and academia agreed to set up a law enforcement community task force to keep any militarization of local police forces transparent and proposed new community policing initiatives. Freeman Wilson says she was honored to be one of 5 mayors present, but that the work must extend far beyond an invitation to the White House. Hillary Powell spoke to Karen Freeman Wilson this week, and she'll have more later in our program. A federal judge ruled this week against a stringent Indiana law regulating abortion clinics. U.S. District Judge Jane Mania Stinson said Wednesday a law that changed the classification of abortion clinics to include sites that only perform drug-induced abortions is unconstitutional. In the 41-page decision, the judge called the law irrational and said it violates the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution by treating a Planned Parenthood clinic in Lafayette differently than other physician offices that provide the same medicine. Opponents say the law targeted clinics unable to undergo expensive renovations to meet the same standards as surgical clinics. A report released this week by the Department of Health and Human Services says that Indiana consumers will have more options and savings when shopping the 2015 health insurance marketplace. According to that report, consumers in Indiana can choose from 9 issuers in the marketplace, up from only 4 in 2014. Additionally, insurance plan shoppers can choose from an average of 43 health plans in their county, up from the approximately 23 available during the last enrollment. Dr. Kathleen Falk, the Region 5 Director for the Department of Health and Human Services, says that's good news for all Hoosiers.
They're going to see in Indiana this year they have even more providers to choose from. There are more than twice the number of providers, so that's good for us consumers. We'll have more choice, and more choice means more affordable prices. So now's the time to shop and see what's best for you and your family.
Open enrollment in the 2015 health insurance marketplace runs through February 15, 2015. Go to healthcare.gov for more information. Governor Mike Pence unveiled his 2015 education agenda this week, with the stated goals being to fund excellence, expand choice, and fix what's broken. Pence said that for Indiana to prosper, education must work for all Hoosier students. The plan proposes more flexibility for districts trying to overhaul chronically failing schools, ensures continued funding for pre-K programs, and expands school choice for all Hoosier families. The governor's education proposals are on the agenda for the next legislative session, which begins on January 6, 2015. Additionally, the governor signed an executive order to dissolve the Center for Education and Career Innovation, or CECI, on or before February 2015. Governor Pence says that he will work through other avenues to improve Hoosier education. CECI has been a bone of contention between the governor's office, the Indiana Department of Education, and the Indiana State Board of Education since its inception in 2013. The education agenda on one local campus is changing with the times. Ivy Tech Community College in Valparaiso is highlighting some of its new programs and courses in manufacturing and technology intended to close the skills gap right here in Northwest Indiana. Ivy Tech says it's responding to reports from area employers that it's difficult to find qualified workers for available jobs. To meet these industry needs, the school is offering 2 new technical degree or certificate programs in machine tool technology and advanced automation and robotics technology. Associate Director of Admissions Erin Zach says Ivy Tech students are already actively closing that skills gap.
We have a lot of students that actually come in, do the program, and before they even leave the program, they actually get jobs. We have a couple students that have done the advanced manufacturing and robotics degree that have come in within like 2 weeks before graduation, have interviewed and received jobs before they've even gotten their diploma.
Valparaiso Campus President Okso Sikowski says that the Valparaiso campus must act as the hub for increasing manufacturing skills across Northwest Indiana. In order to increase protection for officers and civilians alike, police forces in Northwest Indiana and around the country are debating kicking their technology up a notch. Hillary Powell has more.
Following days of nationwide protests and walkouts after a Staten Island grand jury ended the criminal case against a white New York police officer whose chokehold killed an unarmed black man, some law enforcement experts say cameras can help curb similar events. This week, Gary Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson was at the White House, where President Obama announced his plan to put 50,000 body cameras in police departments across the nation. While the technology can hold both officers and citizens accountable, some law officials say there's also a concern of privacy.
We're here to help you, I promise you that.
The interaction of 2 people, a Porter County sergeant and a distraught citizen, captured by a third party. It's not a person, it's a piece of equipment.
It's no different than any other piece of equipment I have. I subconsciously turn it on and off without any issue, and I pay no attention to it.
The Porter County Sheriff's Department has been testing the model for 4 months. The body camera is smaller than the palm of his hand, but Jason Praschak says the technology can preserve the truth.
It's benefited me when writing reports. It's looking back at how I handled a situation tactically. We can see how officers do things on calls. And then we can say, hey, that wasn't, the best thing. Maybe we can do it this way down the road. A lesson some body camera supporters say matters after a July fatal encounter between NYPD officer Daniel Pantaleo and an unarmed Eric Gardner was caught on a citizen camera. Back in the region after being one of 5 mayors at a community policing forum at the White House, Gary Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson says she's in support of more body cameras to protect officers.
Law enforcement officers have the right to expect to come home. We can ensure that there are no other officers killed like this year in Northwest Indiana, Officer Westerfield, Officer Schultz. But at the same time, all officers and all of law enforcement functions in a way that is consistent with the Constitution.
That's a problem for all of us.
President Obama announced his plan to make 50,000 body cameras available to police departments across the country. Chief Patricia Novak of the Indiana University Northwest Police Department hopes her force is one of them.
I want our officers to have as much as they can, as many tools in their toolbox as they can, so that the right decision can be made.
After a New York grand jury declined to indict Pantaleo after his chokehold caused Gardner's death, some people say cameras won't matter, even if they catch alleged wrongdoing.
Keep this conversation going.
ACLU Indiana Executive Director Jane Henniger says body camera benefits outnumber the cons.
Policies are adopted to protect the liberty interests of the people who police have interactions with.
There are still privacy issues to work out. Indiana's a one-party consent state, so only the officer has to know the camera is rolling.
That's from when you first came in the room and we were talking.
For example, I didn't know the camera had caught my image in the interview until I was told.
This is way more intimate. The cars can't go into somebody's house. You have access to everything in their house. Anything I see, for the most part, you're going to see. 89 also.
Experts also caution that even a body camera can't tell the full story.
It doesn't see it the way a human actually sees it. It can't be the total investigation.
When you see that camera, it's not the exact same thing the officer's seeing. or hearing or smelling or feeling.
Legal experts say they expect more Hoosier citizens to be captured on film as privacy issues are confronted.
Controls on off switch, certain circumstances when the body cam needs to go off. I bet we can find a technological way to address those concerns.
Would love to go the rest of my career with the camera, and I can see us eventually going to most officers wearing them.
I got it.
Come next year, thousands of families dependent on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program might run out of food help if heads of households don't work. Steve Walsh spoke to one local food expert about how the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration's stricter work requirement can affect area families.
It was announced last month that Indiana will trim the number of people who now qualify for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly known as food stamps. In Indiana, nearly 876,000 people are enrolled in the food stamp program. Talk about it. We have Arlene Peterson, who is the executive director of the Food Bank of Northwest Indiana. Arlene, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Steve.
So this benefit was expanded back during the recession. Now the Governor Mike Pence, is looking at making a change. They're trimming the number of people who are on it. Mm-hmm. Who is this going to affect?
Well, it's truly going to affect those able-bodied working adults. So any adult that I think it's over the age of 50, if they don't have dependents at home, they haven't been declared medically or physically unable to work, it's going to have an effect in terms of their benefits. What they're putting in place is a lot of fair programs or work programs to help these individuals that at least if you're an able-bodied adult and that you don't have dependents, you can go out and at least be working 20 hours a week.
That's the hope. That's what the governor is hoping will happen. You deal with people who are at this end of the food spectrum all the time, people who are going to the food pantry because they don't have enough to eat. Do you see this being a smooth transition?
You know, I truly wonder, and that's one of the things with us as the food bank and our statewide organization, Feeding Indiana's Hungry, called FISH. We're really wanting to know more details of how can we support and ensure that those individuals that are going through that transition, what can we do as part of the food bank in terms of the supplemental food that we need to make sure that is available to help those individuals who may not have those SNAP benefits anymore. And again, preparing our pantry and our pantry network, ensuring that they know there may be an increase of clients coming to your particular pantry or soup kitchen, and what are some ways that not only helping them to feed those folks that are in the line, what are some other resources out there that we can ensure that we're collaborating with and directing out those individuals to those resources.
So you imagine that, and we don't really have numbers at this point, how many people are going to be impacted, and they haven't really designed the final rules for all of this yet, but you're imagining you're going to see an increase in people coming to the food banks. Yeah,
definitely. We know that we're going to see an increase. I think we saw it the last year when they had a small cut in some of the benefits that were out there. We would get the calls that say, where's the nearest pantry near me? Just got the notification that my benefits got cut. You absolutely will have those individuals that, again, they start to make those choices. They're making those choices and those hard choices on a day-to-day basis.
I was looking over this benefit, and it seems like what it really boils down to is about a little under $30 a week. So this would be about $4.24 a meal. I mean, how easy is it to survive on food stamps right now?
It's pretty hard. We find that toward the end of the month or toward the end of when someone benefits are running out, that's when they're really trying to stretch their food. They're making different options in terms of maybe I won't get fresh fruits and vegetables and I'm going to buy something different. Maybe it's something very processed, something that's maybe not as healthy. We want to be able to let people make more healthy choices with the benefits that they have and to be able to stretch those benefits out. So a lot of that is teaching people how to spend, how to cook certain foods, but we really want to try to support those kind of efforts for those clients.
So how prepared are you for this? Can you handle an influx of people who will no longer qualify for SNAP?
I definitely think we can. We know it'll be a stretch. One of our biggest challenges, I think that really facing being a part of the executive director of the food bank for probably a little bit over a year and a half now, is that our current facility right now, we really have outgrown it. We definitely need more freezer and more cooler space in order to accommodate those fresh fruits and vegetables, and even accommodating more meat. And so for us, we know we're stretched, but we also have this great, incredible network of partner agencies who are out there on a day-to-day basis making sure that food is getting out.
All right. Well, that's where we're going to leave it. Arlene Peterson, Executive Director of the Food Bank of Northwest Indiana. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
During the holidays, the region's elderly residents can be the most vulnerable throughout the year, but especially during winter months. Outbreaks of norovirus, commonly known as the stomach flu, can occur. Symptoms may include abdominal cramps, vomiting, and diarrhea. Outbreaks often occur in closed and crowded environments like nursing homes. A new study examines whether norovirus outbreaks are associated with increased risk of hospitalizations and death among nursing home residents. Catherine Dolph explains in this week's JAMA report.
Many elderly nursing home residents are familiar with hospital emergency departments, especially during the winter months. Outbreaks of the norovirus are often the reason. This infection can cause vomiting, diarrhea, and dehydration.
In a setting of a nursing home where individuals live in close quarters, once one case begins, it can become very easy to spread from person to person.
Tarek Trivedi, a fourth-year medical student at the University of Chicago Pritzker School of Medicine, and co-authors examined 308 nursing homes in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Oregon. All of these homes experienced at least one norovirus outbreak between January 2009 and December 2010.
In nursing homes, during times of norovirus outbreak, we actually had an increase of about 9% in the rates of hospitalization as compared to non-outbreak times.
The study, released online first, is published in JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association.
There was an 11% increase in the number of deaths that were occurring in nursing homes during norovirus outbreaks as compared to all other time.
Researchers also examined whether daily registered nurse hours were related to these increases.
When we looked at nursing homes that had higher numbers of nurse hours per patient per day, we didn't see these increased deaths during norovirus outbreaks. However, we didn't see the same association with hospitalizations.
Increased rates of both hospitalization and deaths were concentrated in the first and second weeks of the outbreaks, suggesting that identifying the virus early is important. For healthcare workers, thorough hand washing with soap and water is recommended after patient contact. This helps reduce the spread of infection.
For healthcare workers who become infected with norovirus, we recommend that they stay home from work and not participate in patient care for at least 48 hours until after they've actually recovered from their illness.
Nursing home residents often have other underlying health issues. Researchers say it is difficult to assess whether the outbreak is actually causing death or hospitalization, or whether it is happening simultaneously during another illness. Catherine Dolph, the JAMA Report.
A woman known for her own self-portraits is being celebrated by more than just a party of one this month. John Kane shares how the story of Mexican painter Frida Kahlo is coming to the region on this week's Eye on the Arts.
Hi, joining me for this edition of Eye on the Arts is Laura Cutler, who is the exhibitions director at South Shore Arts, where I work, too. And hi, Laura.
Hi.
So we have our big blockbuster exhibit up now.
Yes, we do. The complete Frida Kahlo.
Go ahead.
Her paintings, her life, her story, and it's 123 replicas licensed by the Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo Trust. And it's paintings, dresses, jewelry, her whole life told throughout the gallery, 5,000 square feet of story, basically.
Of Frida.
Yeah, Frida.
All Frida, all the time.
All Frida, oh.
And this was, you had help helping you install the exhibit, some people from Germany.
Right.
Who work for the Trust, is that how that works?
Actually, the show originated in Germany. It was designed by a couple that is from the hometown where Frida's father is from, originally. A lot of people don't know that her father was German and moved to Mexico. Then after it was there, it went to San Diego. And is now traveling and is being, I think it's Global Entertainment Properties is moving the show. We're actually the second location to have this show in the United States.
So it's a real homage to this. I say she's arguably the most important female artist of the 20th century, Georgia O'Keeffe being another, obviously.
I mean, she's a fashion icon. She's a feminist icon. But the thing about the show is that the replicas tell her story like her paintings told her story, and they're in the perfect color, the perfect size. You see the show and it's magic. You see the colors, you see the scale. It all comes to life for you. And I don't think that, I don't know, in our lifetime we'll ever see all the originals in one place. Most are at Casa Azul or the Louvre or everywhere. And it's such an important story for people to learn. She's fabulous. She's fabulous. I'm so excited.
She brought the unibrow into fashion.
That's true. That's true.
So we have some special events coming up quickly.
Yes, we have the Free Family Fun Day, December 15th or 14th, I'm sorry. And we're going to have folkloric dancers, live music, storytelling. We're going to read a children's book. They're doing that along with Marcos Salazar, who'll do the Spanish version of the book. It's free, open to the public.
And then our wine tasting in January.
Our wine tasting in January, January 20th, and that's a VIP reception.
But people can pay to come.
People can pay to come.
You too can be a VIP.
Yes, yes. There is normally an admission to the show, $5 for adults and $2 for children, but the Free Family Day will be open from 12 to 4, absolutely free.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week with another edition of Eye on the Arts. Eye on the Arts is made possible in part by South Shore Arts, the Indiana Arts Commission, and the National Endowment for the Arts, a federal agency.
Each month, Lakeshore Report teams up with the Society of Innovators of Northwest Indiana to highlight some of the best forward-thinking projects and people the region has to offer. This week, we take a look inside the Lake County Community Transition Court with goals of helping individuals make a smooth transition back into society and reducing recidivism. Lake County Superior Court Judge Salvador Vasquez and his team are doing their part to make Lake County a better place.
What we've created is a process by which we can bring people out of the Department of Correction and modify their placement to give us the opportunity to supervise individuals. Right now we probably have 45 participants in our program, and we always have between 40 and 50. So what we're trying to do is get that really high recidivism rate, knowing that we have a high-risk population, and get that 75 down to 0. You go from work release to home detention, which is phase 2, and then phase 3 is no monitoring at all.
We take anywhere between 8 months to a year in helping these people transition out from the prison system back into society. They started off in prison, they came here and they're in a work release center. We're helping them look for work, we're helping them with their driver's license so they can have transportation back and forth, getting everything set up for them so that when they are finally done with their actual sentence, that they've already got a head start on all of these things.
We're just trying to give them the tools so that when they go out there, they can look impressive, and they are impressive, and they're trying. Recent studies show that after a 3-year period, 70% of all people who come out of the prison system will reoffend. For those who have completed our programs, we have managed to bring that 70% down to 24%. So we're succeeding. The biggest challenge among the challenges that we have are jobs. You know, we need to convince our employers, are those who are the decision makers for the employers, to open their eyes, to take the chance. And just because someone puts, I'm a convicted felon on a job resume, that they shouldn't just close their books to them. Give these people a chance that they're in a process, a program where they're really trying to help themselves out and do well and reconnect and do the right thing, then I want our employers to give them a shot.
For more information about the Society of Innovators, visit www.nwisoi.org.
That's right, or you can also reach out to us at tvfeedback@lakeshorepublicmedia.org with your questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. We also would love to hear from you on Twitter at Lakeshore Report and on Facebook at Lakeshore Report as well.
Right, we always like to hear from our viewers. So thank you so much for tuning in. We thank you for joining us tonight. I hope to see you next week on Lakeshore Report.